This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Oh my goodness. I've got a lot that we're going to hopefully be getting out here today. Lots of information. I'm going to actually start with Halloween of 1987. This is about where we left off in Jack's life, but we'll go ahead and throw that PowerPoint presentation up and show you some of the Halloween pictures. This is October 31st of 1987. Denny and his family, so now Denny is Jack's biological son, is taking pictures in Jack's home on Halloween. This is the last known picture that I had of Denny in Jack's life, and kind of confirms that Dennis had indicated Jack and Denny had some falling out and were no longer speaking, or at least not talking for some time until after Dennis had turned Jack into the FBI. Then for whatever reason, they began speaking again. We also noted that Denny was a composite match based on Dennis's, composite from Lake Berryessa of the second individual that was supposedly seen lurking in the background of the Lake Berryessa attacks. But I thought it was interesting to note that the Halloween costumes for the kids this particular year is a magician and a ghost. And it was kind of more or less the fashion of the way they placed this sheet and then tied the rope around the neck, because when we get into the Texarkana Phantom, I was like, we've got this guy that's got this sack over his head with a rope tied around it in most of the images that they have for the Texarkana Phantom murderer. And then as I'm doing some research, I find this makeshift hood here, and it says survivors of the Phantom Killer attacks described him wearing a hood with eye holes. And if this is their description, I don't know if this was just somebody, I don't know why anybody would arbitrarily throw something together unless they were trying to mimic what the witnesses saw. But if we take note to it, it's square on top, Nolan. Just like the Zodiac head.
Yeah, much like the shape of the Zodiac hood. Yes.
Right. So I'm not sure if we can rely on this visual aspect, but this would suggest that the makeshift hood from the Texarkana Phantom murders was either mimicked or the same person made that hood for the Zodiac killings. And of course, you can see it buckling all over all of the other images on the top, like we would expect the square one on the Zodiac to buckle as well, because it had the corners. And it was straight and square across the top. I thought that was extremely interesting. Yep. So I did actually put it towards, so here we have a rendition of the Zodiac hood, and we see the buckling at the top, and it has that square affect. That's the same type of buckling we're seeing on these other images for the Texarkana Phantom murders. And of course, here is the hood that Dennis found, which of course, again, is cornered out and square at the top, just like what this rendition was purportedly described by the victims of the Texarkana Phantom murders. So just interesting stuff, right? November 30th, 1987, we see 38-year-old Jasper Singh on the 3200 block of FM 149, Pinehurst, Texas. So we're seeing murders back in Texas. Employed at Tubular Protection of America, which is a commercial oil tool plant making thread protectors out of polyurethane for the oil industry. I probably threw that in here just because of the relation to the oil industry that we've seen throughout much of this presentation. He was acting as a night watchman due to burglaries and thefts. So he's a security guard, basically. and he's struck by an object several times and then stabbed to death. And the only thing that was taken is a business type telephone, it says, and an electronic scale that had been stolen from the shop. I wrote next to that, meth scale? Question mark. I mean, they wanted a phone and a scale.
Wow.
That seems like a lousy reason for somebody to lose their life. In December,
I think they were trying to disguise it as some sort of robbery.
Right. Well, in December of 1987, Jack and family are still on Kirby Way, so we know he's still in the Sacramento area, and he is visiting Mary in Stockton on Christmas Day. We get to see some of those pictures and his belongings as well. But the murders seem to be kicking off and picking up in Magnolia, in Conroe. I mean, they all seem to be definitely a serial killer operating in one particular area, because it seems like this is an awful lot of murders to have one area have, and it be so many different people killing. What, does everybody just love to kill in Conroe and Magnolia? Right?
Yeah.
So this was January 17th, 1988, Rainforest Road at Penguin Road, Clear Creek subdivision in Magnolia, Texas. He resided at the 1600 block. I don't even have a name for this person. Let's see if we come across. Block of Berkland Street in Magnolia, Texas, January 16th to 6 p.m. Met a female friend at Cherry Parkway in Houston, Texas to play bingo. This is all the Houston to Magnolia connections that we've seen. Left the bingo hall at approximately 10:30 p.m. en route to home. Husband reported, okay, so it's a her. Husband reported her missing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't have this female's name in here. Missing to the MSCO at 8:45 a.m. on the 17th. Approximately 2:20 p.m. a resident of Clear Creek subdivision observed her brown 1983 Chevrolet Suburban parked at the end of the Rainforest Road at Penguin Street in Magnolia. Her dead body was found inside the car, strangled with a bungee-type cord. And last information I had on it was the MCSO is going to be testing DNA. I don't know if there's any results from that as of yet.
Why would the husband wait so long to report her missing?
Well, 8:45. So she must have been
That's
found
the next
on
morning. Yeah.
Right. Well,
so she's
yeah,
gone
she didn't
all night long. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, unless he was sleeping and didn't wake up and woke up to find, I mean, I don't know what.
Well, from 10:30 to 8:45, that's like 10 hours sleep. More than 10 hours.
Well, if she left the bingo hall at 10:30, he could have fallen asleep at 10, right? And slept until the morning when he woke up and discovered she wasn't home. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. Most people wake up way before 8:45.
Not me. I don't even hear the words coming out of your mouth. I have a strict do not text me before 9 a.m. rule. Okay. Yeah. So, and maybe he's a good sleeper. Maybe, he thought she was hanging out after, I don't know what time. He also presumed that she was coming home. At what point does it become she's not coming home versus she just is hanging out with friends afterwards or something? Could be a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah.
There's also
unidentified. You know what day of the week it was?
I would have to run the date in Google to know.
Right.
What that is. Yeah. But on January 17th, on the same time in 1988, or actually, I'm sorry, in 1984 earlier, the murder occurred, but the body was found, unidentified human skeletal remains, woods off League Line Road, 2.4 miles west of I-45 in Conroe, Texas. So back to Conroe. It's back and forth, Magnolia, Conroe. Jawbone by a hunter scouting hunting locations. He took it to a dentist who declared it human. The MCSO searched and found more bones that were examined by experts. They had a possible description, white male, 40 years of age, 5'4", taller, with numerous teeth having been extracted. Remains probably in the woods for 4 years plus. MCSO ran DNA through CODIS and found that it was male instead of female, as previously thought in 1988.
Okay.
But that's the extent of, why do I feel like I lost something in my hearing? Okay. So that brings us to our next female in Dublin, California, which is Eileen Michaloff. This one is not on the Sandy Betts map. I did not find anything in Dublin or even Dublin listed on that map. So this was probably an outlier I picked up elsewhere. So it says the disappearance of Eileen Michaloff on January 30th, 1989. 13-year-old Dublin teenager Eileen Michaloff was abducted while walking home from Wells Middle School. She was last seen at approximately 3 p.m. that day, walking alone on Amador Valley Boulevard near Village Parkway. Her key fob was later found near the entrance to John Maple Park along the route she normally took to her home. At the time of her disappearance, Eileen had braces, pierced ears, freckles on her cheeks and the bridge of her nose, and a small lump on the inside of her left ankle. She was last seen wearing a charcoal gray pullover Esprit polo sweater, a pink and charcoal gray skirt with horizontal stripes, and black low-top Ked sneakers. It sounds to me like she probably came from a upper middle class family based on 1988 and wearing things like Esprit. Those were things that my family didn't own. We didn't own like brand name clothing. Anniversary walk. So for over 30 years on the anniversary of her disappearance, a community candlelight vigil and walk was held in Dublin to keep Eileen's memory alive in the hope that someone could remember something that will help provide information as to her kidnapping and possible whereabouts. Following the passing of Eileen's mother, Maddie Michaloff, the traditional walk will no longer take place. However, Dublin police has shared messages from Eileen's father, Mike Michaloff, and former Dublin police chief Nate Schmidt. The investigation into Eileen's kidnapping continues in the hope that she will one day return home safely to her family. And it gives you some links if you want to message the Dublin police chief, Nate Schmidt, and if you wanted to message Mike Michaloff, which is Eileen's father, and anybody with information regarding her disappearance should contact the Dublin Police Sergeant Craig Evans at 925-833-6670. And all tips will remain anonymous, it says. So some details behind her disappearances. Let's see, we've already done that. So she was walking home in Dublin on January 30th, 1989 at 3 p.m. after her classes concluded at Wells Intermediate School. Several classmates reported seeing Eileen walking alone on Amador Valley Boulevard near Village Parkway and the Shamrock Shopping Center in the afternoon. She vanished shortly afterwards. She was taking a shortcut home going through a wide alley behind a shopping center. This kind of reminds me of Sherry Jo Bates being a student that was killed in an alleyway next to the school. She was taking her shortcut home going through a wide alley behind a shopping center, a furniture store called Sawmill, and Gallagher's Pub when across the boulevard, then across the boulevard and through John Mape Park along a dry creek bed. Eileen has never been seen again. She was carrying a dark blue backpack at the time of her disappearance. The backpack was later found abandoned in the creek bed in John Mape Park. So this is kind of like, I don't know if this was a robbery attempt or why they felt the need to kill her, but the strewn belongings as it leads away from the body is kind of something we see with a lot of these murders. You know, the killer's just basically dumping stuff along the freeway as he's leaving out from the area that the body's been left. It was located in the area that had already been so the backpack was later found abandoned in the creek bed in John Mape Park near where she was last seen. It was located after the area had already been searched, so the authorities believe someone may have placed it there after Eileen's disappearance. So basically, they did the search and then somebody came back and dumped her stuff afterwards. One possible suspect named in Eileen's disappearance is Timothy Bindner, who was also investigated for possible connections to the disappearance of Amanda Nikki Campbell. For many years, Bindner was also considered a suspect in the 1988 disappearances of Amber Schwartz Garcia, which I think that's a familiar one everybody remembers, from Pinole, California, and Michaela Gerecht from Fremont, California. He was never charged in any of the cases, maintains his innocence, and successfully sued Amanda's hometown of Fairfield in 1997 for defamation of character. So clearly, I mean, he's not the person. He stayed around and fought. All right, so we had 2 letters that were in the FBI FOIA files. I have not seen these letters. I could only type up and put into the presentation the information that was found on the the files from the FBI, and there are 2 letters that went out to McDonald's, one on February 1st, 1988, and one on February 8th, 1988. And it begins, this is the Zodiac, and it's postmarked Chattanooga, Tennessee. I couldn't make out the entire OC. Well, it does say, addressed to McDonald's, 2 North Gate Park, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37343. The second one was addressed to the same exact location. Attention, Dan R., written on graph paper front and back, accompanying from McDonald's profile change notice with the hand-printed message, "This is shit." So, does the Zodiac have a problem with McDonald's? I think that, like, literally the reason why I put these in here is that Harriet used to work for a McDonald's, and she would tell a story about the one of her coworkers who purportedly received mail at the McDonald's that she was currently managing, but she was off that day. And that employee opened up the mail and ingested some type, she believes, anthrax, and then had subsequently went home and died from it. And then, of course, she describes that hazmat was around, all these things were going on. She believed that she was being targeted. And her father had also passed, I want to say, somewhere around 1990, or maybe even right here in this 88 to 90 era, from what she also believes was anthrax as well. He received a package in the mail, opened it up, and supposedly this powder came out, and she said that he basically bled out sitting at the chair at the table. Again, another hazmat situation. Her dog became ill from this particular exposure that her father died from. And when the dog was treated at the veterinarian clinic, he was given Cipro. Cipro is basically the antibiotic, I guess.
This is one of Harriet's co-workers at the same McDonald's?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, not these McDonald's. She was working at McDonald's in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So where did the letter come to?
The letter went to McDonald's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Well, it was postmarked Chattanooga. Well, yes, it's postmarked and sent to McDonald's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it's saying that this is the Zodiac. So it could just be a copycat. I don't know. I haven't seen the letter to be able to do it, but we know that they're hiding letters from us at this point. From 1986 on, law enforcement and FBI and everybody is withholding these images from us.
Where is this maybe anthrax mailed to? Which McDonald's is that?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay.
Correct. And
so the person ended up dying, right?
Correct.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. And her father was formerly a merchant marine who evidently she believes had some inside knowledge of lots of happenings, cleanups, and things that the military would do, like in the areas of like the 731, Unit 731 with Ishii, where he was in Japan, I believe, or China. He was doing biowarfare basically on his own people, on prisoners of war. They busted him, broke up the camp. From my information, it shows that they gave all the scientists a free ride to America to trade information, but they would do things like feed anthrax or syphilis or cut off your arm to see how long it took you to exsanguinate. They were doing some horrible things to people, and it was basically genocide on top of anybody who was a prisoner of war or any other race. It was all inclusive of all kinds of people. So we couldn't perform those tests here in the United States, but we know that we're really big on helping out those that will share that information with us, which is kind of icky that we would do that. Bring them here, give them houses, give them benefits, get them set up, give them jobs if they trade their information of how to kill people. Wow.
Yes. The recruitment of the Japanese scientists and whatnot and medical people wasn't as big as Operation Paperclip with the Germans, but it happened.
Yes, it did.
It's in the book about Frank Olson. There's some stuff about that.
Right. And it was called, that was Unit 731. I definitely, some things just stick in your brain. I don't know how I keep half this stuff up here.
Okay.
So anyways, Harriet believes her dad died from anthrax. She believes her coworker opened up a letter intended for her because she was the manager normally handling the mail, and that she was supposed to have been targeted with it, and that her dog had also fell sick and was given Cipro, and Cipro is the antibiotic that they give you when you've been affected by anthrax.
Wow.
So, yeah. And she even, at one point in time, I don't know if I still have the picture, but she had sent me the picture of the actual bottle that was given to her, to her dog. And it definitely said Cipro on it.
At one point, this is a little off the track. Didn't you and Dennis in Jack's shed find a container containing some suspicious substance?
Yes, it freaked us out. Yes, it freaked us out. In the end, they told
the FBI, right?
Yes. In the end, they determined that it was either the cremation, some of Jack's remains, I think is what happened. So all I know is that when Dennis opened up the bag that it was in, he said that whatever was so foul, and basically robbing him of his breath, he couldn't even breathe. And he popped it open, saw that it was a white powder, immediately closed it back up, turned it over to the FBI, and they in turn turned around and said that I think it was remains or ashes. So
or maybe who knows? They could have been lying or concealing what they actually found.
Exactly. And it was in a film canister.
They wanted to keep Dennis and you in the dark.
Well, and it was in a film canister. We know that Jack was big on photographs and film and things like that. It was, I don't know who takes remains.
But how would he put his own remains in his shed?
He wouldn't. He clearly wouldn't. Yeah. So either somebody else did. I don't. Yeah, none of it made any sense.
Or it wasn't remains. Or maybe it was someone else's remains.
Right. There's so many what ifs. I'm glad you remembered that. Yeah. So many things have happened in this case. So on March 22nd of 1988, 24-year-old Daryl Wayne Cade in Nakuska Street, Texaba subdivision, FM 1484, Conroe, Texas. Associates left with Cade, who later told the family that they had dropped Cade off at his request at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds located on FM 1484 outside of Conroe, Texas. Foul play is suspected. He's a white male, date of birth 7/4/63. When reporting missing, he was 5'9", 200 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes, mustache and beard, a tattoo that said Love Star with a star. He was a mechanic, and the DNA identifies remains in 2010. So they must have found the remains at some point. I just don't know when. Because that was the missing date. But in 2010, they were able to identify those remains. On April 3rd of 1988, on Easter Day, Jack is known to spend Easter in Texas with his mom. I used to have pictures of when Jack was in Texas because he would ultimately take pictures with mom and the family and everything when he's there for the holidays. And I, at one point in time, with all of these unsolved murders that Dennis had given me, I was able to actually locate pictures of Jack's that would indicate he's in these areas during this time. So this March 22nd murder, maybe not, but the April 9th, that's relatively close to Easter Day once again. So I always wondered if when he went to Texas, he didn't get some of his inner aggression out. I don't feel like he's doing a lot of killing back in California while he's working for Hewlett Packard. But would he go to Texas, hang out with the family, and he disappears all the time. He's very good at it. Disappear to, take advantage of his little sick traits and then come back to California, and he's not even being looked for because he's not even in the state anymore. So this one is on April 9th, 1988, Cassandra Lee Haley and Richard Keith Call, missing persons. So a couple that goes missing on Colonial Parkway in Virginia. We definitely also have a serial killer, obviously, operating in Virginia. We're going to hear several of these missings and murdered victims, all from the same location, just like Conroe and Magnolia. We've got something operating in Colonial Parkway, Virginia as well. So they went missing after driving home from a party, and their vehicle was found abandoned on the parkway the next morning. Law enforcement theorized that suspect posed as an officer in order to get them to pull over. We know that Jack was, operating as a security guard at this point in time. So again, he looked like an officer. And that was also something that was suspected in the I-45 killing sightings as well. On April 9th of 1988, we've got Jane Doe that's found in a rail yard on Southern Pacific Railroad in Texas. She was beaten on the head. Railway death, McKee Street Railroad Yard, 100 yards off the 700 block. On June 2nd in 1988, 60-year-old Leon Slider of Creekwood Drive, Splendora, Texas, body discovered by residents out for a walk on Creekwood Drive, lived in Houston, Texas, and worked as a security guard. He was beaten to death and identified through fingerprints. June 3rd, 1988, his car is found on the parking lot of the Clem Manor Apartments in the 5300 block of Coke Street, Houston, Texas. Car was stripped and contained large amounts of blood on the back seat. Just scary. July 10th of 1988, this I think is that police officer that you were talking about in San Francisco that was murdered. You had mentioned or said something, I think, last week about Lester Garnier.
I don't know if it's the same one, but the one I thought was earlier, years earlier, like in the 70s.
I think there was one that was shot sitting in his car, right?
Yeah, I was writing a ticket or something.
Yeah. So this one was just another one that was shot. And I don't really have a lot of information. Yeah, I don't have a lot of information on him, but we do show murders in, obviously, San Francisco for the murder map, which included more murders from Sandy Betts maps than just Paul Stein. It included some prostitutes, other women. There's several people that individuals suspect the Zodiac could have been responsible for. This one probably not even closely related. I just bring it up because of the involvement of high power people. And speaking of high power people, I just finished watching the Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich docuseries. I also watched the Ghislaine Filthy Rich one as well. Let me just tell you that I was absolutely flabbergasted at the response from law enforcement in regards to these cases. It does appear as though they are trying to just strictly create the image that Epstein is the only monster in this, and that Ghislaine is, the feeding of the monster, basically, by bringing the girls in. So it looks like literally everything's being dumped in their laps. But the reality is that you don't become this rich. You don't go from being a nobody, somebody who gets fired from his job on the stock market because he's fiddled around with his expense reports and is cheating the company out of money. You get fired from that, then do you know what was the name of the guy that he did the Ponzi scheme with? $480 million. Obviously mob, right?
Madoff?
No, I don't think it was Madoff. He actually appeared on the docuseries. He did only, I think, 7 years in jail. So only 7 years in jail for stealing $480 million worth of people's money.
Okay.
That in itself was absolutely shocking.
On this officer. So it says Walnut Creek. So he was found in Walnut Creek, his body?
Again, the information's like super limited.
Okay. Because he was SFPD officer, but it says Walnut Creek. So I don't know.
Right.
But
So he must have been
I'm talking about was early 70s, and he was found in San Francisco. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, this one is saying Walnut Creek, but he was an SFPD officer. At least that's what they've got tagged underneath his picture here.
Yeah.
So anyways, the September 6, 1988 murder of 28-year-old Julie Ward happens in Masai Mara Game Reserve in Kenya. Now, it says, did not attend a farewell dinner that night before departing for Africa. Her dismembered and burned body was found deep within the reserve's boundaries a week after she was reported missing. Her father's efforts, John Ward, uncovered evidence that led Kenyan officials to believe she was murdered. Coroner's reports were altered to mask human involvement in her murder. So now we've got people manipulating. This is why I brought up the Epstein stuff. We've got high-ranking people manipulating the evidence. Safety for the Kenyan tourism industry. There is high-power officials like former President Daniel Moi has not been inclined to convict anyone to this day. And I don't know if that means that they had suspects, but the fact that they refused to literally indict anybody or to attempt to convict anybody of this crime is, again, back to what we saw happening with the Epstein stuff. You know, we had girls as early as 1996 that were reporting to law enforcement, and who knows, maybe some had reported before that, but those that are on record and that came out and actively spoke and consistently told the story of what a monster Epstein was started in 1996, and that got my wheels clicking. You know, you're sitting here researching stuff, you're looking at things. I'm aghast at the U.S. attorney that actually gave him a plea deal behind the victims' backs, so that he did not have to go into court and reveal any information whatsoever. He was given 18 months, did 12 months, but was literally walking free. He was let out on what they called work project for 12 hours a day of his 12-month sentence. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. So he's basically free all day long. He just went there to sleep. And of course, he had a cushy, nice, unit to himself kind of thing. It was all really kind of disgusting. At any rate, when my wheels started clicking, I was like, when did we lose a Hollywood madam who also didn't have to give up her list, right? I looked back, and Heidi Fleiss in 1996. Now, she's not convicted of trafficking women, which she should have been. She ended up ultimately being indicted and convicted for tax evasion. But before that, she was high up in the media. She ran shows for the media. She wasn't just a madam. That was just a subset to who she really was and what she had going on. So she was on TV. She was in the media. She was on the radio. She was high up there with these people, providing women for those that wanted to play. And that's no different than what Jeffrey was doing. So you've got this nobody. He's nobody in 1994 to 96. And then all of a sudden, he is now somebody. And he is they're bringing in females left and right. I was kind of astonished to see that they weren't really trying to push the narrative that there are people on his list. They would occasionally throw a picture up of Clinton with him or with Trump with him or, other individuals, but they never really pressed the issue that all these hundreds of girls had been also farmed out to other people, not simply Epstein's delight, right? And then Dershowitz, go ahead.
I'm really unclear on the sources of his income and how he had some really expensive holdings. I mean, Palm Beach, Florida was really exclusive. He owned like a palace on an island and a place in New York.
How do you get that? Yeah. How do you get that he committed the Ponzi scheme, obviously, with the gentleman that went to jail for 7 years, $480 million. And this man sits on their Snickers and says he didn't turn Epstein in as part of it. There's a reason. He couldn't. He couldn't use Epstein as a fall guy at this point because Epstein was too important to too many high-ranking political figures, elite people, royalty. I mean, we saw Prince Andrew is all wrapped up in the middle of it. There is just so much. And the attorney Dershowitz is up there. I never slept with a child, but you've got this woman over here saying, I slept with him 5 or 6 times. Now, he's a nasty old man. Women don't just up and pop up and say, I slept with something nasty unless they truly did. That's shameful.
I don't want a hired gun. I used to admire him, but I found out he's represented a lot of scumbags.
Mm-hmm. Well, he consulted. He for whatever reason couldn't be the attorney, so he consulted as part of the team that Epstein had. And Epstein was literally intimidating all of the witnesses. He was having them followed. He was having them stalked. He was having them approached. He had teams of PIs out there just running amok, trying to intimidate absolutely every single witness in this case. And the fact that the U.S. attorney would not indict him for child trafficking and the things that they really legitimately should have done means that they were also told, you're not going to touch this guy. But I think what happened is it became so publicly known that the pressure was on. They had to do something. And we see the FBI pick up the investigation from New York. And he is finally convicted ultimately goes to jail, purportedly commits suicide, but an autopsy shows that his hyoid bone had been broken in 2 places and that it was impossible from the position that he was hanging off of his bed to have created that type of a blow to that area of the neck. Even in a strangulation, a slow strangulation would not have broken those bones. So there is now theories, obviously, that he was murdered to keep information silent.
It's funny because right now Trump is trying to distance himself and conceal evidence and whatnot about any lists or anything, but he doesn't hesitate throwing Clinton under the bus.
No, he doesn't. And he used to be a huge supporter of Clinton.
How does Trump know Clinton went to the island?
Well, there's pictures. There's pictures. There's also a groundskeeper that actually saw Clinton there sitting on the porch. So there's definite information. So to say that we just went to this island, which only is known for screwing, I'll say that politely. What are you doing on the island?
Yeah.
You didn't touch no little girls. Come on, Clinton, we know that you like little girls. You had Monica Lewinsky, a young intern, underneath the table of the Oval Office. We're not stupid people, and stop treating us like we are. Yeah. All right. September 19th of, I think that was the end. Let's see. Oh, no, that was not the end. All right. Jeffrey Epstein's, this got even more interesting. Jeffrey Epstein's only client that he had supposedly to make money from in his, I don't know if he was doing stocks or like portfolio management or what, his only client that he had is Adnan Kagoshi. Now, the reason why this is interesting,
Adnan Khashoggi, he was involved in the Iran-Contra affair. He was an international arms dealer.
Right, and he also was being looked at by the FBI in connection with Bebe Rebozo for human trafficking.
Wow.
There are FOIA files on it. I went, what the hell? And we talk about Bebe Rebozo because of the John Walsh stuff. Like, the links are just absolutely astronomical. Actually, Bebe Rebozo was super good friends with Nixon. So Nixon was joining him on his getaways and things like that. So, yeah, I just thought that, and of course, I think Adnan he's royalty from India.
No, he's Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern.
Oh,
well, where's India?
I want to say East? Saudi Arabia or Jordan. Or something
yes.
Like that.
I believe you might be right, but he's royalty again, just like these are all some sick people, and it goes all the way up the freaking. So basically, we've got, again, in the middle of Epstein, politicians, mobs, medias, syndicates, high-ranking political officials. It just goes on, you guys. It all fits into scheme, and this is why I look at these things in the Zodiac case, because these people are above reproach. Period. You're not going to get them until the entire public is pressing for it.
Years ago in Old Sac, we were deposing an attorney named Robert Radcliffe. And one of the other attorneys asked, do you know Adnan Khashoggi? And his reply was, yes, I know Adnan. So not only did he know him, he was on a first-name basis with him. And this Radcliffe guy was crooked as hell.
Of course.
He represented my client, formerly, a crook by the name of Henry Van Buren, who was a scammer, went to federal prison. Anyway, just a little aside.
Well, and it just really takes me aback, because it's clear that these people will use and abuse anybody without means in order to facilitate their needs and desires. And I don't see the Zodiac episodes as anything any different. They will kill even to protect their stuff.
But I think Epstein did have some other powerful clients. I mean, one of them is in the docuseries. I forget his name, but he's a New York businessman, I think. And I think his name starts with an A, Aronson or something like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's the one that he committed the Ponzi scheme with. And here's crazy. When he was fired from his job on the stock market because he was stealing and embezzling money through his expenses, he was picked up by this guy that committed the Ponzi scheme on purpose, he said, because he liked that type of behavior. He literally went and looked for him because he heard this guy was smart, and he's also unethical. He also is immoral, And he was exactly what he needed to complete his Ponzi scheme. So these people are specifically looking for an individual just like this. And I think that's how he got recruited to that level of he's now the basic madam. I feel like he took over Heidi Fleiss's job.
And the other thing is he never graduated from college, yet he got all these high, powerful positions on Wall Street and whatnot, and dealing with all these rich people.
He lied to get there. He lied and said that he had. Yeah. So he's the perfect person because he's immoral and unethical, and he's going to lie his way right up the ladder, and then becomes one of the richest men in the world. One of the richest men in the world, rubbing elbows with royalty and presidents. Come on now. Come on. Ask you. And we know Trump likes young women, right? Haven't they all been, extremely young? Whatever. All right. So September 19th, 1989, we have a Jane Doe, east side of Houston, estimated to be 14 to 19 years old. Her estimated time of death is approximately 1 to 3 months at this point. So clearly we're looking at August, June, maybe June, somewhere around there, June to August. They're suspecting that she had died, or September. October. I point out Jack was in the area for an unnoticed amount of time in 1989. So he's back and forth to Texas. October 7th, 1988, 22-year-old Suzanne Renee Richardson in Casa Del Mar condominiums is a missing person. I'm not sure why this one ended up in here other than I was, cross-connecting some Donna Lass condominium card, the 12th victim card from the Zodiac had condominiums on it. So
is that the San Diego area?
I think so. I think so, but I couldn't narrow it down because Casa Del Mar has condominiums all over the place, even all over the world.
Okay.
So basically, a sleeping coworker in a room above the lobby heard a scream. So she must have been working at the Casa Del Mar. And a coworker that was sleeping in a room above the lobby heard a scream and a slamming car door at 6:30 a.m. Then another scream before hearing the car drive away. So disappeared from her job while working in the lobby of the condominiums. Which is kind of, again, that's reminiscent of Donna Lass going missing from her work, the Sahara Casino. Gabriel Soto was thought to have had a connection to this case, but suffered an apparent drug overdose. Her shoe was found in the parking lot and scratches on the lobby door. Her body has not been found. So she's still listed as missing. What time do we have? 10:43. All right, so Christmas in 1988, still at the Curry house. Jack and the family we see here. Don, his brother, is visiting for Christmas. Of course, Don was also listed as living in Roseville in 1980 per Jack's paperwork. So they are probably living close to each other at this point, but he was originally in Riverside for most of his time in California. February 5th of 1989, we see that Jack is back in Texas. He's taking a picture of his mom's house, which to my belief is that he purchased this house for his mother, based on Dennis's recollection. So he's here. We're also seeing developed film from May of 1989, where Jack is with the family in Texas again at a barbecue. And this maybe Easter in April or March, because the tag on the back of it says May of 1989, and you can see it's a family function and get together. And as I'd indicated, he's usually there for Easter. So we are seeing him back in Texas via his own pictures. And this picture says, can I read it? It's very February 5th, 1989, something covered. This is basically the property, and they ended up moving a mobile home onto it. And at approximately Easter time on April 5th in 1989, we had 37-year-old Valente M. Garcia. However, I'm going to caution that the finale note to Tim Miller indicated he did not kill anybody Hispanic. So this is likely somebody else, because I tend to believe when he says he didn't do something, it's the did he do something thing part that I question. She was killed on Bee Creek Road in Willis, Texas. She was originally from Houston, Texas. She was shot numerous times at that location. And of course, I just indicated to Miller, no Hispanics. Oh my gosh. Then the murders just pick up here. So we have another set of what they refer to as the Stoneman murders, only this time it's in Bombay, India. Or I'm sorry, this time it's in Calcutta, India. So the first one was in Bombay, India. And basically they're stoning to death homeless people. I did not map quest this to see how far they were apart, right? But it sometimes I feel like some of this stuff was done just to sell newspapers, just to sell hype or to distract from something political that's going on. Like there's always, it seems like it's always coinciding with something that's saying, look over here, not here. And meanwhile, the medias and the syndicates are making mass amounts of money off of running these stories. And this is 4 years apart too. So what, we've got a serial killer. If we suppose that one person did this, he took a break for 4 years, came back, did it again, and then never did it again or before. It just seems rather odd. I'm just going to go out today and kill 12 homeless people with rocks and then go back to my normal life for 4 years and then pop back up in another location and kill more people with rocks. Very strange. 1989, yes. Anna Marie Phelps and Daniel Lauer went missing driving Colonial Parkway, Virginia. Here we've got another couple's gone missing. Bodies were found on a nearby logging road a month later. Law enforcement theorized suspect posed as an officer to get couples to pull over. Again, September 19th, 1989, 14 to 19-year-old Jane Doe, number 4, east side of Houston, Texas. Estimated, oh, I've already gone over this one. Why did this end up back in here? Let me go backwards and see what I did wrong. Yeah, so September, October. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I have it in the wrong location there. I'll have to make that change because she died in 89, not 88, and I had her in the 88 series. All right, gone over her. October 31st, 1989, 20 to 30-year-old unidentified male skeletal remains, Nakuska Street, again. All right. March 18th of 1990. Yay, we're in 90. This is the Gardnerville heist. I don't have a lot of information on it. Harriet really honestly believes that this group, that whoever runs the Zodiac group and the people involved committed this heist. Some very high-end art. I mean, $1 million worth, millions of dollars. She thinks it was a compilation of a insurance job, make somebody pay, somebody wanted this art. They stole several pieces and there was a security guard involvement. And I think that's why she's trying to kind of tie it together with Jack. I'm not sure, but we know that we're going to see another separation here very shortly between him and Nora. So I don't know what's going on, but he ends up back in Texas again. So March 20th of 1990, we have 30 years of age, Beverly Sue Demler, reported missing in Harris County, Texas. Human skeletal remains found by hunters on November 10th, 1991 are identified in 2001 by dental records, and she died from blunt force trauma to the head. Right? Now, July of 1990, we can see that Nora and him are still together via this picture. Jack is traveling again. This picture shows, it says Metro City. I tried researching and looking this up. I did see a Metro City in the Grand Canyon area. It says our trip. This could potentially be Arizona or Atlanta or even Texas. So I found Metro City in 3 different states, but all states that I say Jack is possibly connected to. 1990 Ancestry.com shows Jack's address as a P.O. box as 752721 Dallas, Texas. So why is he have it? I've said this before. He keeps and carries P.O. boxes in Oklahoma, in Texas, in strange locations, obviously, that he's not living in, but he's having things mailed to them. And what's being mailed? You know, one of the crime shows that I watch actually implicates a travel company as being an undercover death squad, basically, and their operatives would pick up their kills and the information on those kills at a P.O. box. at one of those mailbox, like, etc. type facilities. Definitely not inside the post office, but in one of those other ones. And that's where they would go to pick up the sheets of information on who they were supposed to kill. So I thought that was interesting. Is Jack keeping P.O. boxes all over the place? And a lot of these communications, especially when we come up here to the John Walsh ones, you're going to hear about P.O. boxes. He's the author of the letter is specifically talking about owning a P.O. box. So all of it, again, runs in tandem. Oh, well, we are pretty much 30 seconds out from finishing this off. Are you going to be back at 1, Nolan?
Yes, I'll be back at 1.
All right. Well, everybody take care. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next Friday. Thank you, Nolan.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh,